So, ready to learn how to build a setup for the Xfinity cars and even the Gen 6 Cup car? Well, if so, stick around because in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And I'm even going to give you the baseline that I use to build from for the Xfinity cars and the setup guide that I created for these cars. So, all of that right after this. What's up, everybody? Tommy Brandon here. Thank you very much, as always, for joining me. And like I said, we're going to be building a setup here for the Xfinity car. Now, the principles are the same for the Gen 6 car. The Gen 6 car and the Xfinity car, they both got the shock springs. They both, the front ends and stuff like that. The springs and stuff that you'll use in terms of the spring rates and things like that will be different, but the principles are the same. Okay, so that's the first thing that you need to understand. I'm not going to do a video on the Gen 6 car because we've only got, 4 or 5 more months of the Gen 6 car, and then we're going to the next gen car. And so I'm not going to spend a ton of time focusing on that because I would rather spend my time trying to get better at the next gen car. So next year when we go with that in the NIS and everything else, got that one really dialed in. So we'll take a look at the Xfinity car because this car is not going anywhere for a while. Okay, but the setup that we got here, first and foremost, is I've got it's a super speedway baseline. So what I did was I built a setup that is pretty much for all these, like bigger than 1 mile up to 2 mile tracks, right? So, what you're talking: Atlanta, Texas, Charlotte, Nashville Super Speedway, Michigan, California, right? Like all those really big tracks, Homestead, right? I wanted to have basically a starting point. Okay. Now, I got this put together and it works as a pretty good starting point for those tracks. Now, some of them I need to change a lot more than others, but it just depends on the track. And that's the really cool thing, is that once you have something that you can kind of start from, it'll help you build, those other setups. Now, I will be doing this for the short tracks, because we do have quite a few. And in terms of road courses, I'm still a little ways away from that, from the road course racing. So that'll be sometime in the future. But right now, since the super speedway stuff is so prevalent, it's so popular, it's what we run a lot of. And I wanted to do this first because this is where people, from what I can see and from what I've heard from people and from the questions that I get asked the most, the super speedway tracks are really where people seem to struggle. And there's a few reasons for that. Number one, mechanically, your car's got to be good. But number two, the aero profile of your car is so important. When you get to these tracks like Atlanta, Charlotte, Texas, right, Michigan, you've got to have the aero profile just dialed in, because you can have a great handling car, but if you're missing out on just 1 to 2 miles per hour because you don't have the aero profile correct on this thing, you're screwed. You just are. So you've got to get that right. And to do that, the best way to do it is obviously Motec, which I do use personally. I use it a lot, but a lot of people don't use Motec. Now, I am going to actually do a video here. It's the next video that I'm going to be doing. At least that's my plan. Well, it's going to be soon. It'll be here in the next couple of days, where I'm going to actually show you how to install Motec, how to use it, and so anybody can use it, right? You don't have to create, crazy math channels or anything like that. Anybody can use it. Okay, and that will be here in, like I said, the very near future. I know I've talked about it before, and a lot of stuff has happened and it's been kind of put off, but that is coming. I promise you, it's going to be here in the next couple of days, because I've got a very big Motec training program that I'm going to be doing here, and I've got a lot of people who have asked me about it, and it's coming. I've been working on it, and it's coming, very, very soon. So if you are interested in that, make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell, because you're not going to want to miss it. Because even if it's just you catching the free video, it's going to be able to help you a ton with these cars. Just being able to see the ride heights in Motec can help you a ton. But anyways, so let's first take a look at this. Now, I've got two things for you. These are both free. You can go get them from the website right now. Just go to schoolofsimracing.net/cup guide. Okay. So schoolofsimracing.net/cup-guide. There's a link down in the description below. When you do that, you'll get this super speedway baseline setup. All right. And you'll get my Xfinity and Gen 6 setup guide. Okay, it's similar to the super late model one in terms of kind of going through the process that I do it. Obviously, these cars have different adjustments, and the process that I use is a little bit different. So, for example, I don't engage the shock springs on these cars. For those of you who watch the super late model video, you'll know what that means. But you know, a lot of this stuff is similar. It's very close to the same. There are some differences, but for the most part, very similar. But if you want to get this, like I said, it's completely free. You can download it and get this free baseline, Super Speedway baseline setup. It's free as well. All right. So the setup, pretty typical. You know, one of the things I've been noticing from the iRacing setups is basically a lot of times it's just like minimum pressures in the right. You know, from everything that I have tried so far, 45 on the right sides is what feels good to me. So that's what I actually don't even like touch those unless I'm in a race and I make an adjustment. I've been going with just the minimums on the right. Left side pressures, I do vary. And basically I vary these on what kind of stagger I want for the track. So typically it's somewhere around 17 18 pounds of of pressure difference of spread, whatever the heck you want to call it, that I will do for like these 1.5 mile tracks, especially these high banked ones, the Texases, the Charlottes, the Atlantas, tracks like that. And that works pretty good, and I will fine tune that based on what I'm seeing in terms of tire temps and things like that. But that's pretty much what I start off with, is what you see here, 23 on the lefts and 45s on the right, okay? Now, on this baseline setup, I've already got the cambers and the casters set for these types of tracks. Now, you might need to fine tune them, but these casters and cambers, particularly the cambers, all right, are really maximizing the contact patch of the front tires, okay? You can be a little bit more aggressive with them if you'd like. I try to be, pretty close in terms of my tire temps and my temperature spreads across my front tires, because I want to maximize my contact patch. I don't want to use camber to make a loose or tight adjustment. I want to maximize my contact patch, and then I'll use the variety of other adjustments that I have to fix tight or loose, not camber. Okay, once I get those things dialed in to maximize that patch, I don't want to mess with them anymore. I want to keep them where they're at. Okay. Forward ballast, this is something I will actually play with quite a bit. Now I will get as far up as like 40, even like 45. And this is all, we're talking race stuff here. Qualifying is a different story. Qualifying, I'll put it all the way forward and just burn up the front tires. I don't care. But for the races, it really depends. With the ballast forward, what you want that thing to do, obviously it's balancing out the weight of the car. If you have it too far forward, it's going to burn up the front tires. You're going to have too much weight on the front end. It's going to burn up the front tires. And then your car is going to be just horrible after like 20 laps. I mean, heck, at Atlanta, even if you got a good balance setup, man, you can feel the fall off in the tires after like 10 laps. And it's pretty dramatic. So I use the ballast to really balance out the car. I will be on average, not always, but on average, anywhere from like 40 all the way back to, man, like 20. Okay. I mean, I'm still using nose weight, but I'm not going, way back past zero. Like, now in the truck, I'll be negative sometimes in the truck, but with the Xfinity and the Cup cars, usually pretty, it's pretty good up there in the front. So that's what I've been trying to do. Cross weight, I use that to balance my tire wear. I try to use the cross weight to balance out my tire wear more than I'm trying to actually use it as an adjustment. So I will get the cross weight kind of balanced or dialed in terms of my my tire wear, what I'm seeing on the tires, and then I'll use all the other adjustments, my shocks, particularly shocks. or even like the track bars, that type of thing, trailing arms, to determine or to fix loose and tight and stuff like that. Once I kind of get my crossweight, my ballast where I want them in terms of, evening out the tire wear, if I can get those things to wear evenly, and you're not going to get all four to wear exactly the same. I mean, I don't know, maybe you can on an oval. I don't, if you can, you're awesome. I haven't figured it out, but I can get about a 2-to-1 ratio, meaning like 2% loss on the right side to 1% loss on the left side. And that's even really hard to do if you're driving it really hard. So, but anyway, so that's what I do with the cross weights. Tape, from what I've seen in testing, 260, I believe, on the water temp is like, once you hit that thing starts flashing red, and then it can blow at any moment. So I try to get my temperature, my water temp, somewhere between like 245 and 250. And then that's the tape I'm going to run. Okay. And then obviously, if the temperature, track temperature and stuff like that is higher when I go to race, you got to adjust that tape. Okay. Front springs, 350s is what I got here with the shock springs. I will adjust the front springs and the shock springs, but for the most part, I'm anywhere between 300 and 400. And then on the shock springs, 5,000 to 7,000. I know that's a big gap, but that's kind of what I've been playing with. It depends on the track. It really does. Shocks, this is the starting shock package I go with, and then I just adjust accordingly. Toe, same thing on these bigger tracks. I -1 on the right front, +1 on the left front. That's how I do that. On the rear end, 800 on the right rear, 700 on the left rear. I got to tell you, for the most part, I try to always run a 700-pound spring on the left rear. Now it will fluctuate occasionally, but for the most part, a 700-pound spring just feels really, really good at most of the tracks I've tested. Now, keep in mind, I have not tested all of them, right? So I still got a ways to go in terms of that. But the ones I have done, Charlotte, Texas, what was it, Nashville Super Speedway, tracks like that, a 700-pound in the left rear felt really, really good. Now I will go up, if I feel like I need it to be a little bit stiffer back there, I'll go up to like 800. But even then at 800, that's the max, and I don't like it. I don't like it that much. Like 750, I try to stay by 750 and below, and then I might go down to like 550, but if I'm down to like 550, that's been more like short track stuff, not on the bigger tracks. Bigger tracks, I've been trying to stay, like 750 to 600. Like, that's kind of the range that I've been in. Now I will say this, obviously, if you're at like Talladega or Daytona, you're going to put, like, what is it, 400s in the back, and what you're going to run, right? Like, you're going to run the spring minimum, right? But for all the other tracks, that's what I've been running. On the right, I start off with an 800. I'll go up as high as 950, maybe even 1,000. And then I'll actually go as low as 650 in the right rear. I will run reverse split in the rear springs. I will run it in the front springs too. So it really is just a matter of, walking through those adjustments and kind of figuring out the car and, what feels good and what doesn't feel good. On the rear cambers, I'm positive 1.8 to 2 on the left rear, and negative 1.8 to -2 on the right rear. And usually I'm trying to max these out. Occasionally, if the tire temps and the wears are really crazy, I'll fine tune it, but that's where I'm at. Same thing on the toe end. Right rear, I'm usually maxed out negative on the toe end, and on the left rear, I'm maxed out positive on the toe end. That's just what I've been working. Typically, it'll be 5 or 6, on the 6 30-seconds. Track bar, I start off with about 4 inches of track bar split, rake, whatever the heck it's called, I don't even know. But and I can, a lot of times I'll try to keep my right rear at like 14. I'll usually adjust my left rear. I've been finding if I can find something that feels good and I can just leave it there and then adjust something else, right? The more that I can just kind of be like, hey, that feels good, I'm going to leave that and then mess with this over here. It's helped in all the testing that I've been doing. And then truck arms, I've been starting with these at the top. So I've seen some of the iRacing setups where they've been split, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to build this baseline, because I was building setups from the iRacing setups, and some of them were really, I only would have to make a few tweaks to them and they would feel really good. And then some of them, I was making them worse. Like I just could not get them figured out. And so that was why I decided to do this, where I just was like, I'm going to build something from scratch, make it just fit me perfectly. And then that way I've got something, to go from. And moving the truck arms to the top is, was one of those things that I was like, this feels really, really good. So, and then obviously the gear. We're at Atlanta. Atlanta was the first track that I tested this at, and it was a 370 gear. If you were at like Texas, maybe you would go to maybe a 364 or 360. It's just gonna depend on, obviously track temps and what kind of how hooked up you got, or how much, maybe if you're running the top or something like that, you might want to change the gear or something. But anyway, so that's the baseline. All right. Now, how do we do this, right? How do you actually build the setup? Well, luckily, I've got this all laid out right here for you in this little guidebook, all right? Right here. And you really are just going to follow these steps. It's really, really simple here. So you're going to go out and you got to determine your gear ratio, your caster, your toe in, toe out, all right? Camber and tire temps, those types of things. These are the ones I focus on first. Based on, track size, banking, and stuff like that. You might be wondering like, well, hey, why would you be doing caster and toe in, toe out before you do your camber? Well, because I want to try to get these to where it feels more correct, and it's looking more correct in terms of the tips and stuff. Because once you start adjusting these things are going to kind of, they can start to really get out of whack, and vice versa. And so I find that doing these first and then adjusting the cambers makes it easier for me to reset back to this. Okay. So that's why I do those first. All right. And all you're going to do is you're just going to go out, put this baseline on, go out and turn 10 laps. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me do 10 laps, but that's all you got to do is just go out and turn 10 laps. And when you're doing it, turn 10 race laps. You're not just putting around. Now, you're also not running qualifying laps, but you want to be running them at race pace, okay? If you're going to be running, a pace that's going to allow you to be fast, but also, save your stuff for the long run, you want to be doing that. All right. Now, you don't want to be out smoking the rear tire and driving it in so deep and slamming on the brake and stuff like that. You want to be doing that stuff, but you want to be driving race pace, okay? Now, this baseline, it actually feels pretty good at Atlanta. There's very few changes that I actually made to this setup when I built the Atlanta setup yesterday. And I actually won with it last night. It was my first Xfinity win. And it was a really good race. I lapped all the way up to second place. Now, it was a lower split. It was a second split. So, it wasn't the top guys, but hey, a win's a win. I'll take it. But anyway, so you'll go out, you'll turn 10 laps. All right. After you turn 10 laps, you'll come back in. And when you come back in, this is something that a lot of people, kind of don't think of. When you're done, slow down, right? Don't lock up the brakes. Don't pitch it sideways. Don't, none of that stuff, because that'll damage the tires. It'll screw up the tires. Just because we don't get flat spots and stuff, it doesn't mean it won't screw up the readings you have on the tires. And you want to have the correct readings so you can know what you need to do. All right. So you would come in here and you would look at these temperatures and percentages, and then you would adjust accordingly. Now, once you've got those done, once you've got those done, and it's laid out for you here in these steps, okay? Once you've got those done, now it's time to build your setup. And now you're getting into, adjustments, speed, right? And that is really it. You know what I mean? It's just, that's it. For me, like I said before, I try to keep things as close to the same as possible. I have been finding a 2.25-inch bar on the Xfinity cars feels really, really good to me. The arm symmetry I do change from track to track, but it has to do with how much the left side of the nose is lifting up when I'm in the corners, okay? For example, I've got it set to 4 because I find that I've usually running somewhere between the minimum, or excuse me, 2 and the maximum. I don't run the minimum. Um, but in the race yesterday, the setup that I ran yesterday, if I can find it real quick, I had it at 5, right? And you can see the setup that I've got here, if we look at this, okay, just a few changes from the setup, that baseline setup. Now, like I said, sometimes there will be a whole lot more than others, and sometimes there'll be a lot less. It just depends. But the only way that you're going to really be able to start figuring it out is to go out, test, and then start adjusting. Okay. I find that really, from the middle out, like if your car is, you're wanting to free it up more, stiffen the right front, or the right rear spring. Like that's usually how I determine my right rear spring. That's what works best for me. Okay. Another example is if I got my car pretty close, like it's like 80-90% of the way there, but I find that it's a little loose getting into the corner, then I'll take out some of the left rear rebound, okay, out of the shock. So you've got those major adjustments, and then you've got those minor adjustments. And figuring out what works best for you is the only way, the best way to do it, okay? And the only way to learn it, to really figure it out, is to get out there and test. So take this baseline setup, take this setup guide, get out there, start testing, and hopefully you can run good. And heck, I'll even throw in the race setup. You guys can download the race setup and give that a shot this week at Atlanta too. You can try that out as well. So it'll be down in the description below. All right. So like I said, thank you as always for being here. I will be doing a in-depth live stream, like a setup training live stream for this car here in the very near future. But I just wanted to get this out to you so you had something until then, okay? Because during last night's race, there was a couple of people I heard just, having setup issues, and we've all been there. You know what I mean? It sucks when you're in an open setup race and you're like, this sucks. So I wanted to get this out there, and hopefully it'll help you guys. So yeah, like I said, you got the baseline, you got the race setup, and you got that guide, and hopefully it'll help you. But anyways, that'll do it, you guys, for this video. Thank you very much for joining me. Now, real quick, before I go, do me a favor. If you like this, please hit the like button and make sure that you subscribe. We get a lot of viewers, and believe it or not, we have like 60% of our viewership is still unsubscribed, which is crazy. I can't even believe that we got that many people that are not subscribers watching. So please subscribe, especially if you want to catch this Motec video that's coming up and the masterclass, or I shouldn't say masterclass, but the in-depth training I'm going to be doing on this. I'm going to actually show you step by step how to build a setup for this car, for the Xfinity car, and that'll be coming up here probably within the week. I'll be doing a live stream on that, so make sure that you are subscribed for that. Also, we just hit 4,000 subs on the channel, which is just awesome. To go from 0 a year ago to at 4K now is incredible. And I want to get to 5K before the end of the year. And when we do get to 5K, I'm going to be doing a big giveaway. I don't know what I'm giving away yet, but I know we can get to 5,000 before the end of the year. So please share, subscribe, all that other stuff, so we can get to 5K before the end of the year, because I really want to do a really big giveaway. That would be really cool. And I just said really a lot of times. So so anyways, but make sure you do that, please, because that would be awesome, to be able for us to hit 5K. SSR is, for what it's become, it's been insane. It's been a crazy ride, and I love it. I absolutely love it, and I love doing this and helping you guys out. And the more we grow the community, the more I get to do this, and the more people we get to help, and that's what it's all about. So please Get this out there, share it. And like I said, description or down in the description will be the links for all this stuff. So make sure you download it, get it, put it to use, and then leave me a comment down below telling me about your wins and victories and everything else. If you actually use this stuff and you win a race with it, please tell me. I want to hear about that. I love it. It's awesome. It's the best part of what I do. There's nothing I enjoy more than seeing people that I've either worked with or helped or whatever, and them say, look, dude, I just won a race and I used, your setup, or I used your guide. Thank you. That's the greatest thing in the world to me. So please, if that happens, let me know down in the comments below. But that'll do it. Thank you very much. Until next time, as always, I want to wish you good luck, good racing. Take care.